episode of Authentically Naturale.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about if you can marry a white person and still be pro-black.
Yeah, or any ethnicity, really.
Yeah. But just, that's kind of the overall. So on social media for a while, that had been a trending topic, and even like on Clubhouse, the app that we're a part of, it was a trending topic for a while. So we just kind of wanted to go back, decompress, and then really talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts?
I was gonna ask you that first.
I think you can still be. I think it's just a matter of what is your significant other's actions doing. Like, we all know if you're dating anyone outside of your race, you're gonna have to do some type of educating. You're taking that on because you're wanting to pursue them at a different level. So that depends on the person, but I think it's their actions too. Like, if you are just gonna sit by and let them say harmful things and negative things, then obviously you're not confident in your culture and yourself. But I personally think that somebody can still be pro-black, true to the culture, and still date outside their race.
Okay, I don't understand why this is even an option.
Yeah.
Really and truly.
Yeah.
Because that's the equivalent to saying, oh, well, you went to PWI, so do you support HBCUs?
I agree. And I'm
tired of that conversation. Like, bro, like, I don't care what school you go to. I don't care who you decide to date. Date whoever you want to do.
Yeah.
Or date and marry whoever you want to marry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if you're pro-black, for all I care. I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Because at the end of the day, I cannot tell you who to support.
That's true.
And who you should advocate for, so you cannot tell me the same.
I agree with that.
Now, I do feel like you're taking on an extra responsibility because they need to be woke, but not too woke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to see them leading the march.
Yeah.
Your white significant other leading the march.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want them to be there, and I want them to be cultured.
I agree.
So it's just I feel like it just depends on what you're comfortable with yourself and what you like.
I agree.
I don't even understand why it's a thing to talk about being pro-black or not. Like,
yeah, it's a thing because of like what has happened.
I don't feel like that means that you're a sellout though.
I don't think you're a sellout. I think this is all like a thing because of everything that's taken place with like
George Floyd.
Yeah, and not just that, just in general relationships, racism relationships. You see quite a few people that identify as us, but they have their significant others are going wild or saying negative derogatory things about our community or like things like that. And I've seen that on my Facebook.
And we saw that in our presidency, our last presidency, when he wants to talk about people not American, but your wife that's sitting next to you, Donald Trump, is not American.
Yeah.
You're ignorant as fuck with a capital K at the end. I want to let you know that. How you gonna talk about people that are not American and you're standing next to, sleeping with, having children with a woman that's
who identified as an immigrant at one point.
Yes, like that makes no sense. You're an idiot.
I agree with all that. And I think the Trump administration has brought so many, I don't want to say like topics to the forefront, because obviously this has been something that has been discussed like within my family dynamic, but like I think that administration just brought a whole lot of worms. Like, it just opened up everything and just said, "Damn, like take all the toxic and the stuff, and y'all deal with it." And I
feel like a lot of it is just people felt more open.
Oh yes.
And didn't have to hide
anything.
And I feel like a lot of people portrayed a role that they were not.
Man, you better preach.
Because like, you know for a fact that we are cool, and you want to sit here and say Trump this, Trump that. We cool. And I feel that in the genuine depths of my heart.
Yeah.
And it's no way that you can really sit here and believe what he's saying. Like, I just find that hard to believe. If someone, I'm sorry, but if someone is my friend and they're seeing things from my perspective as well, and then you want to go on social media and portray to be a different person, like, something's wrong with you, not me.
That's it. Oop, there it is. That's it. And like, that's the whole thing that I have, the issue, switching gears to that, that's the only thing I have with his followers. That's it. Like, that's the issue I have. You're double-sided. You're two-faced. You're two people.
Okay,
but
so my question to
back
you
to
is,
this. Go ahead.
to the topic, is there such thing as too much education if you're in a relationship with someone who is not of your same ethnicity?
See, I don't know, because it's all about what you want to tell them. I think that when it comes to any history relating to us, there's never too much, because it's always something new. Like, whenever I look up stuff, I go, oh my God, like, that's just something new. But I think it's a difference between overexposure.
Please explain.
So, when I'm talking about overexposure, I'm talking about, like, certain events maybe, and I know there's no way of getting around this, because if you're wanting to marry this person, be with this person, they're going to be with you. But like, overexposure to, you know, like older generations of what they're saying and how they feel. Because I tell you right now, my grandmother, who's in her 90s, she has expressed a lot of things to me that if I dated someone outside of my race, I would not expose them to all of her. Like, it would be a casual setting. It wouldn't be anything intense, because she's going to tell him about what his grandmother or grandfather said to her. You know what I'm saying? Because she lived through that era and she experienced that. So it's a difference. So that's what I mean with certain things. And I'm sure they feel this, and I'm sure that it's the same end of the scope. I'm sure they have people that, you know, feel the same way. Like, okay, an example. When we were at Troy, Casey and I were resident assistants. That's actually how we really met, as resident assistants. And there was one of our coworkers. She was in a relationship with someone who identified in the Hispanic community, and she also, but at the same time, she also still was mixed with Hispanic culture. But her grandmother felt like the guy that her fiance, the guy she was gonna marry after she graduated, was too dark. Therefore, he was dirty. Oh, yeah. Okay. So she expressed that to me. Like, she was just like,
she do look white though. She looked white with bigger lips.
But that's the thing. It's like nobody would know, so she would pass. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's why she never. And to be honest, she never really talked about that until she got with him. You know what I'm saying? Because she was in
one of the Panhellenic.
Yeah, one of the Panhellenic sororities, and she was very well known. And that's what I mean when it comes to overexposure, like protection, you know, those kind of things. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, and at the same time, do you feel like that would hinder someone from dating outside of their race?
See, it could. It could be a total like mind like revelation. It could be all of that, because some people aren't comfortable to date outside of their race because of older generations, because it's the older generations that are raising us, and they are instilling things in us. And although they talk a mad crap about the millennials, one thing, an important thing I can say about millennials is we are like starting that march of, and just reveling in it, of destroying generational curses.
Yeah.
We discuss things that older generations, you know, don't want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Like, we're exposing stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think for millennials, probably not. Gen Z, definitely not. Like, Gen Z got their own. Gen Z do their own thing. Yes. So that definitely wouldn't. But I could see how maybe, for real, like earlier in my college experience, if I wasn't open to it, because I was not I wasn't as cultured as I am now. I didn't understand different people's walks of life or understand certain things because of who raised me. And it's nothing against my grandparents, I love them, but they were exposed to that. Like, they experienced so much more hardships than I have, you know? So I think, Casey, that could be a thing for people. And it's so easy to do because you go off of what you're taught, you know? So I think that is a thing. I really do think so.
And I feel like for me personally, like, I love my grandparents, but they're no longer with me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I only have their memories to basically high school. And so, like, they didn't really have to, like, or I wasn't really around them to ask a whole lot about, like, how they felt about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I even, like, reached out to, like, my mom and, like, some other people in our family to just ask, like, hey, how did you feel like when Obama was elected the first term? Because I was in the 8th grade.
Yes.
And so I didn't really, like, I saw that, but I didn't see their emotion because they didn't live around me. So I didn't have to go home and talk to them about it. So, like, I was like, hey, like, what did you think about this? You know what I mean? And so I feel like because, like, I didn't continue to have that, then it's like, I don't really have to worry about, like, what my parents are going to say about somebody. And, like, my grandparents aren't here, neither are my great-grandparents.
Yeah.
And so, and I really do my own thing.
Yes.
I don't really care. But I feel like I could not date someone who was not woke. Yeah. The term woke. Like, I want you to understand that you have social and financial advantages that I don't have. And I want you to be aware of that. And I want you to figure out some way that we can get on the same page.
I totally agree. Like, for me, there's no way to date someone that I just can't be comfortable around, and I can't, and I have to, like, I know I'm taking on that responsibility to educate you, but you have to have some type of common sense. Like, if I'm talking to you about something and you're continuously doing it, then that proves to me that you don't care about my culture, you don't care about my feelings, you don't care about me. And I've seen people that have gone through that. And that's not fair, especially if you're taking on that responsibility. They have to take on the responsibility of wanting to get educated and wanting to be like, okay, like, this is a journey I'm going to embark on, and I'm just going to, realize it and do it.
Okay, so my question is, do white people have a responsibility of educating you as well, or are we already educated? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that?
But I just wanted to say, like, they could definitely educate you on the socioeconomic status of it all, like, of their culture. We see it, but we don't know, like, verbatim what that entails because it's a completely different world. So maybe that, but honestly, historically, there are just things that I don't want to express because I know that we do have people that identify as different ethnicities, and I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm going to keep that comment to myself. But I just can say that it can go both ways. However, more education will stem from the overly cultured one, the one that,
but I still feel like I don't understand why I have to educate you so much.
And that's what I'm saying. There got to be some type of common sense. Like, it got to be something like, it's only so many questions you can ask me about my hair. I'm just being for real. It's only so many questions you can ask me about why my aunt uses slang, or why does she talk like that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's only so many questions I can answer until I'm annoyed and I feel like you're low-key mocking or low-key judging. So for me, that's how I feel. And I do feel like, obviously, in ways, love can be blind, but blind. What I mean blind is you really can't help who you're. But when they open up their mouth and they show you who they are, it's important for you to take note and understand if you can't change that person, or not change, but like help them understand a different perspective. There is no point.
I feel like love is blind. But I don't feel like people in the South really use that term. Like, no, we don't really follow. Like, we say, oh, like, I love them, like, but you see me, and
you see my color. Like,
and I hate it when people say, like, oh, I don't see color.
Well, you're lying.
Are you colorblind?
You're lying.
Like, I'm confused.
You're lying.
Yeah, I'm
lying. That's how I feel you're lying. Like, you see my color.
You see the fact that I'm black, and you see the fact that you are not.
Yes, and the difference is, I taught one of my colleagues the other day, because when she asks me a question, it's never offensive, it's never malicious. Like she's just like, hey, like, I don't want to offend you, and I'm not trying to, but I just kind of want to know this. Can you tell me this? And she's like, so how long did that take? I just want, like, that's cool. And I told her, you're cool with me because you ain't malicious. She's been around me where, and I told you about the incident, when a woman literally put her hands in my hair and tried to play with my scalp, and was like, oh my God, it's real, it's nice. And like, she literally was like, she's not a dog. I was like, oh, okay, all right, hold on, I can't. I want to say, no, I can't. But still, I like the fact that she was like, she's not a dog. Don't put your hands in her hair. Like, what's wrong with you? And I like that because that was like, okay, you know, you see this shit. I'm not the only one that see this in front of me, which I did handle it. But my point is,
you have an advocate.
Yes, and that's what you want in a person that is of another ethnicity. Mm-hmm. Like, you want an advocate, you want an ally, you want someone who, you know, is not malicious, somebody that's going to take time to understand your culture and understand you, because there are always going to be cultural differences too.
And I will say this, as far as like relationships go, like I do have, my uncle married a white woman. One of my uncles married a white woman. And they have mixed children. And she was just talking to me like about hair and about like all of that stuff, you know? And we were just having a regular conversation. She honestly didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
And it was very refreshing when she was just saying like, when people like make fun of him or like would pick on him for being, you know, mixed, that she would be offended and wanted to know like what her best course of action should have been.
Wow.
Because it tells me that you're open, for one, to being an advocate, and you're trying your best in the society that we live in.
Yeah. Because
she's not a millennial, you know what I'm saying? So
Generation X, probably Generation X, you think?
What's our parents?
I think they're Gen Xers. Yeah, they're Gen Xers.
Them.
Okay.
And so she was just trying to like, you know, really be politically correct with being an advocate, and that made me feel good. So I like feel like, okay, like I understand that you're not aware, but you're trying. And I like that.
Okay, and that's the thing too. I want people to get from this conversation, because I think sometimes people from other ethnicities are like, well, I'm trying. And it's not the fact that we don't see it, but be intentional with your trying. And we see that you're trying. We're not talking about people that's not genuinely trying. We're talking about people that literally just don't care. Like, don't care. And we've been around it. And we have known that since, hell, probably we were in elementary. So, you know, you living in Nashville and me living in a small community. You know what I'm saying?
Is it a town or a city, sis?
It's the city. Don't talk about it.
I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, find out, boo. Find out, boo.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm not.
We're not saying that?
Come on. Because it's just different. They both have that understanding because they're both mixed races. So they came together. So they had their own. So I can't. Even though I hate to say it, but you know that eighth rule, you black. So she, apparently you see black, you don't see Jamaican, you don't see Asian descent.
Right.
But she still has that background, she identifies with that. So I don't think I'm sorry.
But then I feel like, I don't feel like in her younger years she was the best advocate for black people.
Oh, Kamala.
The ways are, if you're going to date someone of a different race, educate them, and you are responsible for their actions.
Yes, agreed. And for the person that is of the different ethnicity that is you know going to be with the person of the different ethnicity, you have to be willing to be educated, and you have to be willing to understand your intent and understand like
people are looking
malicious tones. And yes, exactly. So be understanding, be empathetic, and don't overly judge a culture that you know nothing about.
So, signing off of the Authentically Naturale podcast. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, as well as our Facebook group. Because we're coming to you. We are ready. And don't forget to give us a big old thumbs up and comment about your thoughts on this topic in the description or on our Instagram and Facebook group, just so we can see your feedback. Are we right or wrong? Because sis, whoever,
We want to know your
we want to know
perspective.
your perspective, as always. So,
Signing off. Authentic Naturale.
okay, bye.